Welcome to The Anchored Voice. This is a podcast helping men to anchor life. I'm your host, Dr. Phil 2. Welcome to the program.
All right. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I am so glad you are here with us today. Check it out. 10 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 things.
Hold on. It's Cinco de Mayo now. So it's
yes. Uno, dos. Let me see. Let me just see if I can whip out the intermediate Spanish. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco. Okay, let's only go up to the 5. Yes, 10 things we hate about Zoom meetings. I'm Robert Kennedy III, RK3 in the house, and we have on this side of me, side of me, my man, Dr. Phil II. Just wanted to say what's happening to those of you that are watching online. I see Ellen. What's happening, Ellen? My man, Wyman Wimbush. You're watching. Let me see. LinkedIn. Who's watching on LinkedIn? We're gonna hang out there. Hold on. Let me make sure I turn my volume down. All right. And I'll tell you about who we are in just a second here. So I'm Robert Kennedy III. I am a speaker, trainer, author. I work with organizations on presentations and communication. And to this side of me, I got my man. I'll let him introduce himself. Dr. Phil, what's happening? Tell him who you are.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Dr. Phil 2 and here with you. And I'm so glad that we get to just share these moments. Yeah. We've been schoolmates, so we've come together and we want to talk about something very serious that's going on. Very, very serious is going on as far as our Zoom. So I'm the host for The Anchored Voice. So this will be on my podcast. So we're kind of sharing our platforms today. And that's what we're doing in this COVID-19 situation. Yeah.
So you're just talking about schoolmates. That was a long time ago. That was so long. I don't even want to go back. It's been, let's just say we're talking about decades now. It's not even years anymore. It's decades. So Phil, you mentioned something, man. You said we got something really serious going on here. We've been relegated to doing a lot of things online, and maybe we should have been doing some of them before, but now we have all of this stuff happening online, and I feel like I'm in more meetings online than I was even before before this stuff started. I feel busier now because now I've got these, I don't have to drive anywhere anymore. I just have these meetings that I'm in. And of course, that brings us the ability to experience some of the stuff that we're experiencing. What's happening with you, man? What are you thinking?
Well, I tell you what, I've always been at a kind of stay home, work from home type of job anyway. Yeah. So it's the norm, except that on, certain days I'm not going out visiting or I'm not going out to a pulpit and preach. So it's kind of lessen the travel for me. I'm learning some new things around the house. So learning some things. And yes, I'm pretty much zoomed out. I'm not going to lie. I was on a Zoom conference call this morning and it's a lot. It's like, I didn't meet with you this much when we were talking in person. Why do we have so many meetings now? But no, I understand. I mean, we get it.
So honestly, if you're zoomed out, just go ahead and type yes in the chat. I want to see who's commenting or see who's here. Hey, Kevin, how you doing? Brian Burgess, what's going on, Brian? Tracy Johnson, Dave Defoe, Raquel, how you doing? Kalima, hey, just got a few people. If you are zoomed out, just type yes in the comments. Janetta, I'm busier than ever, she says. This is on LinkedIn, working from home. Yeah, right. This is crazy time. So here's what we want to do. We want to share with you today. We don't only want to complain, although we're going to complain a little bit, right?
A little bit.
Just a little bit. We don't only want to complain. We want to share with you the 10 things we doggone hate about Zoom meetings and some stuff you can do about them. All right. So let's start. I don't want to delay this any longer because we want to make sure that people are able to go back to their stuff because they got more Zoom meetings.
Yeah. And I'm sure you're going to be writing your things in the inbox. So I'm watching on a few the messengers. So all right. So our first thing, muting.
Ooh, so your number one thing is
attendees not muting themselves. They getting on the call. Not only are they not muting themselves, they're getting on the call as if they're the only ones on the call and announcing themselves like it's one of them phone conference calls. Please announce yourself. And they're coming in late to the meeting. It wasn't like this is the beginning. Everybody's kind of talking around. The meeting is like a half hour in, and somebody's come on blasting themselves. Ah, I'm here. I'm like, whoa.
Wow.
Please. And then, then you got the people with the family. Of course, we're all sharing our workspace. Now, I've moved my desk downstairs because at one point we were all sharing our workspace and everybody has a conference call for work. So I had to get into a seclusive place. But before that, you know that you have noise in your workspace. You know that the kids, somebody else is on a phone call. Why are you not muted? Why are you not aware that you have noise in the background and that everybody can hear your noise? And then you have another conversation on your Zoom call with somebody else that's not on the Zoom call. So that's just
so let's talk solutions for a second. What do people do outside of just being aware? I mean, what do people need to do?
First be aware that you are on a Zoom call. When you get on, you mute yourself. You look for that mic symbol.
Yep.
And you click on that and make sure it's red. When it's red, you know that you are muted. Yeah. All right. Now, this can be for Zoom. This could be for Ring Central. It looks the same no matter what platform you're using. And you want to make sure that your mic is muted. I mean, it was the same when you were on a phone conference call and, people can't see you. You have to mute your microphone on your phone. So it's the same courtesy for everybody around you, especially when you have a lot of noise. And even if it's quiet, just mute yourself just for the respect of it. Yeah. When you're ready to speak, then you unmute yourself.
So that
is the rules that we have to set before the meeting too.
Yeah. So there's a list of expectations or maybe even a checklist of things that attendees, not just the hosts or the presenters, but the attendees should go through to prepare for each meeting.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. So here's my next one, man. So my number 2, the first one was attendees not muting themselves. Here's my second one. Number 2, people showing up as a shadow. What does that mean? What does that mean? So you've been on those Zoom meetings when you've got either the presenter or people on video, and here's what happens. They're in front of a window and you just see this dark silhouette, right? Or you might see like their chin or a cheekbone or something like that. You might see those things. And man, I don't know if I get triggered by different things, and maybe just me, maybe I'm sensitive to that. But here is the solution. Here's what happens. Light works best if it's in front of you. Okay, so a lot of times you're on these Zoom meetings, and the reason that we're on video is because we want people to see body language. We want people to see expressions. That's right. And so if you are on a meeting, especially if you're leading, but even if you are just an attendee, do your best not to have your back or your light source behind you. Okay, do your best not to have the windows behind you. If you have to have the windows behind you, close the shades, close the blinds, close the curtains so that we won't see that shadow. Okay, have a light source in front of you. If you can turn around and face the window so the natural light can come in, great. I mean, if you don't want to invest in getting a ring light, or Phil just showed me his setup that he got for his birthday. So if you don't want to invest in soft boxes and ring lights and all of that stuff, you then make sure that the light source is facing you. Okay. So
I did have a problem. My initial setup was in front of a window.
Yeah.
So I had to make sure that the blinds were totally closed. If they were just open a little bit and the sun was bright that time, I had to make sure they were totally closed, just to make sure that nobody can, that I can see myself. So, you have to test those things out.
All right. So number 3, actually, here's a comment that'll lead us into our number 3. We were talking about the attendees coming on and not muting themselves. Here's what one of our brilliant participants or watchers, Denise Hines, she says, "Ooh, the host can mute everyone." But from what you're saying, Phil, that's kind of a problem sometimes too, isn't it?
Yes, that was on our list. The host can mute. Now, instead of you screaming at everybody, just go ahead and mute everybody. That's it. Just forget all of that. Go ahead and mute everybody. I had to do that for a Zoom call I had, and one of the participants were wondering, why am I always muted when I'm trying to talk? They didn't understand that I had muted them because they weren't muting themselves with noises in the background.
Right.
And so as a host, you have to learn. Now, first couple of Zoom calls, I give you time to learn. But after a while, you have to learn. And if you've been on the other side of a Zoom call and you've been an attendee and you heard the host saying, I am going to mute everybody, that should give you a hint. When it's your time to host, I can mute everybody. And so that's the feature that you want to know about. But if constantly you're on a Zoom call and you're still screaming at people to mute themselves, you've got to check your technology there.
Yeah. So one of the things that you're alluding to, and I think we said it before, but I cannot say it enough. As hosts and as attendees, maybe there is a list of expectations that you create and that you share up at the front of the session, right? So that people know how to act. People know what they can do. People know what is expected. And a lot of times we kind of think there's some things that, it's just common sense. People should know that, right? But unfortunately or fortunately, everybody has different perspectives, things that they understand. So maybe it's that they don't know where certain buttons are. Maybe they don't know how to operate certain things. So if you are leading a meeting, it might be helpful to share up front, okay, this is how you mute. This is where the chat is. This is how to access the private chat so that you're not sending a message to everybody when you meant it for just one person, right? All right, cool. So what's next, Phil? What else do you have on your list?
Oh man, let's see. What do we have here? Did we say people talking over one another? I guess that would go into the muting conversation. We have the shadow. People not being on camera at all. People refusing to be on video. Now, I get it. Somebody wants to talk to you. You need to do something. You're eating. You're hungry. You're like, I got to eat. Now, you turn off your video for a minute. Cool. But you got to come back on. The host cannot look at you the whole time and just look at your picture. And especially if your picture is just like some crazy looking picture that you've put up there when your video not showing, come on back on the screen, participate. And I'm sure parents and teachers are having frustrations with that. It's like a battle back and forth, especially teachers. They can't stand when their kids are not on video because they're trying to play video games while they're in class.
Wow.
So you can see them looking over the camera, playing the video game.
So let's talk about this for a second. I mean, honestly, I get it, but I mean, I've been on enough video sessions where, depending on the time of the day, some people might say, you know what? My face isn't made up, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. I'm not ready to go. So I understand that. One of the things that, as we go back to setting a list of expectations for people. So one of the things, and unfortunately, we may feel like we shouldn't have to say certain things, but especially if it's a work meeting or if it's a class or something like that, setting out there, hey, the expectation is that people are on video for this meeting. So that expectation is clear. It's clear. Okay. So actually, there's a really good comment. I want to share this. Let's back up for just a second. Yeah. Denise said, ooh, and this is a shortcut on Zoom. This is a shortcut. I want people to know this. Denise says, let the attendees know that the space bar is a temporary unmute feature. Ooh, did y'all know that? Right. So if you set it up and you're kind of freaking out about, okay, where's the unmute? I can't find it. You're clicking around. Just hold down the space bar on your keyboard and we'll unmute you for the time being. And when you're done talking, you can let go of the space bar.
You're going to have to bring Denise on camera here because.
Ooh, Denise is letting out the secrets. Denise is sharing the secrets.
Breaking this down.
That's a really good hint. Love it.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. So let me go with another one. All right. So let's, how many have we done so far? It's okay. How about this one? Wrong camera position. Wrong camera position.
Yeah.
So there is, I don't know. Let me see. What's the best way to say this? So, okay, let me just be blunt with it. Okay. You want people to look at you in the eyes and not in the nostrils. How about that? Okay. You want people to look at you straight on because they say the eyes are the windows to the soul. I don't know what the nose is the window to, except for boogers, man. I'll say that. Can I say boogers on TV? Okay.
You did it.
All right.
And listen, I've been guilty of the same thing. And, I've had my wife come down, hey, fix your frame. I'm like, okay, all right, hold on. Let me adjust this. Because sometimes you don't see what other people are seeing.
Right.
And you think you're good because you're on camera. Like, yeah, I'm on camera. Yeah. No, have somebody also let you know where you're framed. But framing is critical. That's what we do before we get on.
Yeah.
We try to frame as much as possible. And I'll tell you that as a host, it's critical for me. You see my eyes kind of going different places, but I'm trying to look at the camera so that I feel like I'm looking at you. But framing is definitely important.
Yeah. So what you said was important just now. You're going live, but especially if it's an important session, you want to have another device or you want to have somebody else that's critiquing or that's able to look out for you to say, hey, this is maybe the best way to approach this or do this.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's
so
a great way to do it.
Let's get rid of the wrong camera positions again. Yes. You want to be, imagine that you're talking to your audience face to face. That's kind of where you want to be. Don't put the phone on your lap, the laptop on your lap. I know it's called a laptop, but I got you. You want to make sure that the camera is eye level. All right. So wrong camera position. What's next, man? What's another one?
I believe we had hijackers on.
Ooh.
Well, the hijackers.
Okay. Derailers and hijackers.
Yes.
Talk about them.
Now, it is important in person and on Zoom that you stick to the subject. Okay? You stick to the subject at hand. There are a lot of people that try to derail the conversation, bring you into a whole different topic than what you started with. And then the Zoom call just goes crazy. And then maybe you're starting another conversation with somebody else and you're derailing the conversation by talking to somebody else right next to you, not understanding that you're messing up the whole thing. So
right.
You can speak a little bit more on that too.
Yeah. So what I found with when I say derailers and hijackers, a lot of times there may be a Zoom meeting or Zoom session, and this is not just about virtual meetings. A lot of times people call meetings and there's no clear agenda for it, right? Yeah. And so when there's no clear agenda, people just kind of talk about anything and everything. What happens in some meetings is that there are objectives, but there's somebody that fixates on one thing and they'll want their questions answered only, despite what the focus of the meeting is. I've seen that happen on Zoom meetings. We're going to talk about, we're going to talk about budget, or we're going to talk about a specific technology or specific topic, and somebody is trying to ask questions through the chat. in the background and really kind of derailing the conversation or even distracting the presenter.
Come on.
So a presenter, here's how you navigate that. If you've got an agenda and you've got that agenda posted, you may even share that. You may send it to people beforehand. You can put it in the chat. You can say, hey, here's where we are in the agenda. Leave time for open Q&A. And if there are people that have questions that are specific, then you can say, okay, cool. At 3:45, we're going to address questions. So feel free to post your question in the chat. We're not going to answer it right away. We will get to it at 3:45.
That's right.
Okay, cool. All right. So
another one.
What's next? What do you have? You said, okay, is it my turn or is your time? It doesn't matter.
I needed to talk on that. Slide presentations.
Yes. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So you want to make sure, again, this is, I do PowerPoints all the time. I preach with PowerPoints. I was doing that before quarantine. I do it after. It's important that your slides look professional, looks clean, comes directly to the point, especially if you're teaching a subject. You know, you want to make sure that you work on that. Actually, slide presentation takes as much prep time as anything else.
Right.
And what I find myself doing through the week is I'm doing a lot of prep work. As much as I'm doing the writing and researching, I'm doing a lot of the technical prep work. And to present a slide, you have to make sure it's clean, it's to the point, the words are bold so that people can read it. Mm-hmm. You want to make sure, and you don't have to do it the whole time. You can kind of go in and out of slides, and you don't have to really hold up people with the slides. Think of it like TV. You're on TV. Every 7 minutes, there's a commercial. And so the mind is already attracted to the TV time schedule. So you have to break in a commercial during the presentation at each point.
Right. Right. That is an awesome analogy. I love that. I love that because I've been on presentations, webinars, Zoom presentations, etc., where the document is open or the slides are on screen, and maybe you'll see the presenter in a little square at the top left or the top right, and they're there the entire time. And so what happens, especially if they get sidetracked and they need to elaborate or create detail on a topic, you see the same slide on screen taking up the entire space for maybe 6 or 7 minutes. Right, or 10 minutes, or whatever the case is, and you're hearing the person, but you're seeing this boring slide on screen, and so now you're kind of like, well, geez, can you switch it? Can you switch it? Switch it. Right. So make sure that if you've got slides, one of the things that you can do is make sure that you go back and forth, as Dr. Phil said, go back and forth. If you've got the information on the slide and they've already got it, cool. Let it go. Come back on so that they can connect with you again. As a person, they can see your eyes, they can see your expressions, they can see some of the subtle nuances of who you are, because ultimately, whether you are, if you're selling stuff, right? People buy from, or people connect with who they know, like, and trust. And the best way to know, like, and trust is for them to actually see you and connect with you, not just the information that's on your screen. So don't put your slides on the screen the entire time. How about that?
And if you are a presenter like that, you may want to choose a platform. We were talking about platforms before we got on here. You may want to choose a platform where they can see you as equally as the slide. So you're not just a small box, but maybe something that is on the side, which I wish there would be more entrepreneurs and technical entrepreneurs to produce more platforms. Where it can integrate a lot of what we do, because a lot of us have to pay for this platform and go over here and use that. We understand it's just sometimes limited to the platform, but you have to use what you have and use it professionally. And so let's go into the next one. I think it leads into
before we go, I want to share Denise's comment. She was, I like this one. She said, make sure the document you plan to share is already open before you share your screen. And she's sharing that because how many times have you seen somebody share, like, not even the application, they share the entire screen and you see them kind of trying to find the folder on their desktop.
Yeah. Then you see all kind of folders you don't need to see, like the secret picture folder. Like, yeah, we want to see that. You know.
Ooh, oh no.
We want to see that. Yeah.
Cool.
Not there.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So what's next? So we got showing slides.
No, keep it entertaining. Keep your presentations lively. Don't be boring the whole time either.
Yeah.
You have to use your skills to interact. Make sure you have a lot of interaction. A lot of people are doing church online, so you have to figure out a way how to keep it interactive with people. Don't just let them stay on the other side. And even if you're hosting a meeting, is there a way that you can keep it interactive with people interacting with you? You're not talking the whole time, but can you have people give you some feedback? I know I'm taking a class right now, and a lot of times what they say is write in the chat room this answer here, and I'm going in the chat room and right away they give me a response. Thank you for responding. I mean, you have to keep it somehow interactive while you're going through it.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you said, I mean, you went to like one of our bonus things we hate as well, boring presenters. So here's one of the things that both of us are doing. And it's easier to do when you're able to bounce back and forth with somebody, right? So when you're interviewing or when you have two people on screen, it's really easy to interact. But when you're by yourself or you're the main presenter, there's a little bit more pressure and it's harder. And so one of the things that we're doing here is we're laughing, we're having fun. We're not feeling the pressure to be so serious on screen. And that's what happens with a lot of presenters. A lot of people, they feel like, oh my goodness, I have to be professional, tied, buttoned up, and everything's got to be straight and I can't laugh. And if I do, it's just got to be right. So feel free to be yourself and laugh and have fun and joke and enjoy how are people going to enjoy it if you don't look like you are?
That's right.
Right. So enjoy the content, enjoy the information, even if it's boring or technical content. Is there something inside of it that you can grab to make light of? Is there a funny experience? Is there a story that you can share that makes it fun? And what Phil said just now is so critical. Make sure that you engage the audience, make them do something.
Yeah. And I'll say I've learned through time, because when I first started doing podcasts, my coach, he sent me a reply like, hey, man, put some energy in that thing.
Yeah.
I said, okay, man, let me perk this thing up. So I get it. At first, it's a daunting task because you're looking into a camera. Nobody's there talking back to you. You're trying to get through it. You're trying to figure out what you're going to say. So I understand at first. Yeah. You need some coaching. You need some help. You need some a kick in the butt sometimes. Somebody giving you feedback. You're gonna need it because people need the energy when they're watching you. So I trust me. You can go back to my first couple of podcasts, and I've picked up my energy ever since.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to. You've got to. And then that's one of the big things. Energy is something that really helps people to listen, right? I can't tell you how many virtual sessions I've run, and they do the evaluations, and at the end, one of the things that I hear almost constantly is the energy of the presenter helped make this session go faster. It seemed like time flew because of the energy of the presenter. So as you are sharing or as you are on your Zoom sessions, make sure that you as a delivery mechanism, you as a presenter, be sure that you're able to use as much energy as possible. Okay. I mean, there's overboard, but yeah. All right. Cool.
Okay, so I think we have our last one.
Yeah.
And this one is hilarious. I'm going to entitle it The Waltons. Now, before I go into what I'm talking about, only people that are in Generation X will know what I'm talking about.
Oh, geez. That's before Generation X, man. That's baby boomer
definitely
status.
Before Generation X and before will know what I'm talking about when I say The Waltons, okay? Too many goodbyes. I mean, goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Oh man, I just saw this Laurel and Hardy video. And they were saying bye forever, and I was cracking up because that's what we sound like throughout for like 5 minutes. And trust me, there have been times on my own family I've had to just hit end meeting because nobody can say the last goodbye. Like, can we finally say goodbye, good night, we'll see you later. I mean, clearly you can text somebody and say, hey, what's up? And then what happens is so many goodbyes lead to the next, oh, let me tell you about this. And I'm like sitting on the Zoom call like, huh?
Yeah.
So you weren't really trying to end this thing, huh?
So how do we fix that? What do you suggest for that?
After your last goodbye, just leave the meeting.
he said it's simple. Just leave. Just
leave. All right, bye everybody. Good night. Boop.
Yeah. Well,
now trust me, there's a difference. There's maybe a meeting you like people, but those meetings you're trying to get out of real quick. All right, good night. Boop.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that I might recommend, and we've been talking about expectations from the beginning of this, right? So even at the end, you can still set some expectations. One of the things that you might do is say, okay, everybody, listen, great to hang out with you. We're going to shut the meeting down in 60 seconds. You want to say goodbyes. You want to hang out. You want to wave at each other. All right, cool. You got a minute. Boom.
I like
it. And here's one of the things that I've learned. So we talked about the unmuting stuff, right? And some of the noise in meetings. There's some meetings where having the noise is actually a good thing. Okay, there's some, and I want you to stay with me before you're like, what are you talking about, Robert? Okay, there's some meetings where having the noise is actually a good thing. Here's an example. Because my kids are in quarantine in their school, they're attending their class they're attending classes virtually, right? Sometimes the principal will get the entire school together to do a chapel on Zoom. Because they've not been interacting with each other, when they come into the meeting for the first time, that first 3 or 4 minutes, it's like mayhem. And the noise is like, boom, hey, hi. And everybody's saying hi. And, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you. And it's amazing, right? And it just starts off the meeting with this great energy. And then we do the same thing at the end. We say, hey, we're going to end this in 60 seconds. Go for it. Tell everybody goodbye. And then you unmute everybody and everybody's, hey, and it's great. It's great because there's this, it feels, there's like a verbal energy, audible energy that you feel, and you leave the meeting with a good feeling, a good energy. Right. Absolutely. And so that's one of the times, but one of the things that I would recommend is just simply telling people how long they have before you're going to commit a certain action.
Absolutely.
All right. So let me see. Teresa says, I started hitting leave meeting as soon as the session or meeting is over.
Oh, yeah.
Well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good. So listen, there was one that we forgot, man. And I want you to talk to this really quickly.
Okay.
You talked about pictures not framed correctly.
Yes.
Okay. Talk to us about that.
Okay. So we're learning this.
Yeah.
And so don't feel bad. I'm still learning a whole lot of everything. Mm-hmm. But framing yourself, especially before the meeting starts, knowing where your camera is, knowing where your everything is before you begin is critical. Making sure your whole body is in, your head is not cut off. I mean, I can do a few things here, and my eyes could be right here.
Yep.
And it all depends. I mean, you can frame your camera. I like your distance to where you are at and where your camera is. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of more up front, so you see a lot more of what's going on with me.
Yeah.
So sometimes, having a distance might even help too.
Yeah.
As much as possible. But you want to frame yourself into the camera, into the picture, and so that people can see everything that they're looking at.
Yeah. So let's talk to that just for a second. Maybe some of the difference between the distance and some of the reasons. right? So my reason for being a little bit further back is because I've got a few more things going on. And sometimes I do what are called virtual keynotes, or I'll do virtual sessions. And sometimes there are things that I want people to see on screen versus having to share it in the screen.
That's right.
Right. That I'll put here on my background. So when I do a lot of live sessions, I put things there just for branding purposes. Right. So people will associate me with certain things when they see Orange, or they see Storytellers Growth Lab, or they see RK3, whatever it is that's on the screen. They're connecting that with Robert. But sometimes it's just for a session. Mm-hmm. Now, the flip side of that is Phil being a little bit closer does provide for a little bit more of an intimate connection with your audience as well.
Absolutely.
Right. So there's some trade-offs for what it is that you want to do. You're able to see his facial expressions in more detail than maybe mine because I'm a little bit further back. So, what is your reason for being at the distance that you are, or in the specific frame that you are? Do you want to be at the center of the screen? Or if I sat this way, right, I could sit to the left and it wouldn't be as bad because there's something else here to balance me off. But if there's nothing on that side, why am I chilling to the left of the screen? Right. Right. So exactly. we want to make sure that the things that we do online are intentional.
Yeah.
Are intentional.
And there's a lot of times I'll do a test run. Matter of fact, if you watch a lot of my broadcasts, you might hear some music videos going. A lot of that is me testing my equipment.
Right.
Me testing out the music, me testing out my framing, my sound. Mm-hmm. And I'm speaking from a person who had a lot of glitches in the beginning with my broadcast, and still I've learned how to overcome them a lot faster. So I would say to you who are doing Zoom, who are broadcasting for whatever reason, mm-hmm. don't get discouraged. Just keep learning from where you're going wrong. Keep getting the feedback, listen to the feedback, and you just get better from that.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. All right. So Denise is giving some great stuff. Denise is like, another neat feature is the virtual background.
Oh, yes.
So I'm going to agree with Denise, but I'm also going to speak to a couple of things on that, Denise.
Yes. Speak on that.
So the virtual background is a great feature. So the virtual background works really well if you have good lighting, and you've got a good camera. Okay. Some cases, unless you're just kind of hanging out with friends and it's like, cool, whatever. But if you're in, I'm going to say air quotes, professional meetings, there's some times where if you don't have the proper lighting, you'll see a lot of space or shadowing or pieces of you disappearing. Or check this out. Sometimes people are not wearing the correct colors to have the virtual background.
Yep.
Right. If you got a green screen, don't wear green. If you're trying to have a virtual background, don't wear floral shirts with like all sorts of different colors in them.
Yep.
Right. You want to stay, maybe blues or things that don't draw or reflect light. Try not to wear white shirts. If you're using, if you're on camera and you want to use virtual backgrounds, etc. Those are some things that people. And the moon. People like putting themselves on the moon. That's like, that's just me. Some of you like the moon, and I'm not mad at you if you like the moon. I don't like the moon.
Well, they have a nice one. You could be on top of the Golden Gate Bridge now.
Yes, that's right.
And I love the modern background. I'm not gonna lie. I've used it. I was like, whoa, this is nice. This is a nice modern background. This makes me look like I'm in a rich house, and I mean, I'm living pretty good in my own background, but I like the virtual background.
Yeah,
it is, and you have to make sure. And I've done this, and I've seen like what is going on. Why do I look like the Holy Spirit is on me by fire by night? And then you're glowing on top of your head. It's just, And it just looks like you have been.
Oh my gosh!
Like you are Moses, and you have just been to the mountain and have seen God, and have come back to the Israelites. That is what you look like sometimes when you don't have the proper lighting and everything. So yes, you learn. Again, you're going to learn these things just through trial and error. But these are some of the things that we find funny. It's not all the things we hate. It's just the things we find funny as well. About broadcasting and the Zoom.
Yeah. Awesome. So Teresa's laughing at your comment about the natural halo.
Oh yeah. I'm telling you, it's like the Lord has come upon you, have been inspired. You're about to say something right.
Listen, so we're hoping that as you have watched this and as you've kind of shared, I've seen a lot of great comments here. Beth on LinkedIn says, wow, she didn't know the comment about the space bar, the unmuting. And she's like, I live on Zoom. Yeah. So Keith Jackson on LinkedIn says, I'll be zoomed out after my televideo interview tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah. So we wanted to share these tips with you, not because we wanted to be miserable or because we wanted to complain. We wanted to make sure that, man, the more that we are in this environment, the longer that we're here, you want to make sure that each experience is valuable. And there's some things that you can do to take away from the distraction. Okay, there are little things that degrade each meeting and distract people in each meeting. And some of the tips that we shared, some of the things that we talked about are those things. So we wanted to make sure that you really you were equipped in some way and aware of some of these different things. So I've got a couple of things to share with you, but before we move to that section, anything else you want to wrap up with, Phil?
Oh no, I'm gonna throw it back to you, and then let me kind of process some things. But go ahead.
Yeah. So here's what I want. So for those of you that are in corporations, those of you that are in companies where you are, maybe it's your own company, maybe you're a business owner and you're using virtual meetings quite a bit. One of the things that I'm doing in about a week that I want to share with you is I want you to join me for this session. And you can see it at the bottom here, called How to Create Awesome Virtual Experiences. Okay. How to create awesome virtual experiences. That's next week, Wednesday, May 13th at 11 a.m. Eastern. I was going to say standard, but I get them. I never know standard or daylight, EDT, whatever. It's just,
so you have Central Standard, you have Pacific Standard, and you have Eastern Standard.
Man, it's just Eastern. I'm in Maryland, so whatever time that is. Okay.
Standard time.
Yeah. So 11 o'clock my time. 11 o'clock. So yeah, we're going to be doing this session, How to Create Awesome Virtual Experiences. And I want you to join me for that free session. Go ahead and you can register right at this thing is on the ticker right below, www.onlinetrainingexperiences.com. Onlinetrainingexperiences.com. Free session. We're going to hang out for an hour. We're going to talk about some of the things, or we're going to dive a little bit deeper on some of the things that we talked about here today. But we're going to also really introduce some new things and some new tips, tricks, and techniques about how you can make your online sessions, not just sessions, but experiences for your attendees.
Listen, also, can you just share your website, because it'll be on my podcast. So I want to make sure that people on my podcast can know where to find you. Now that's my website. All right. Is it Robert Kennedy 3?
Yep. RobertKennedy3.com is my website. So I can create that, but I just wanted to make sure that I shared.
All right. So my podcast is The Anchored Voice. The Anchored Voice podcast. You can find out at my website, actually, McGuireENT.com. You can see it virtually on YouTube, McGuire ENTV, or any one of your podcast platforms, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Play, Google Play, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. You can find The Anchored Voice there as well.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Listen, y'all, again, as Phil said, connect with me, RK3 at robertkennedy3.com. We'll get connected. And again, I want to invite you to join us for the How to Create Awesome Virtual Experiences session next week at onlinetrainingexperiences.com. Get registered. So good to see you. Hey, Callan, Rush. Hey, Raymond, Austin, Yolanda Bracy, what's happening? David Lopez, what's happening? Who else do we
What's
have?
up, Chaplain
Sabine
Benton?
Yep. Sabine Charles, Beth Granger, Keith Jackson, Janetta Hardy. So glad that you guys were able to get connected with us today. We had so much fun. Teresa, thanks for hanging out. Denise, thank
Alexander.
Thank you so much for hanging out. Lady Sev, is that Diane? Lady
Yes.
DeSev.
Yes,
okay, excellent. So we've really enjoyed hanging out. Phil, this was great, man. I appreciate you hanging out with me, man.
I love it. Thank you so much for having me and for being on with me as well. Appreciate it.
Awesome. See you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to The Anchored Voice. For the video edition of this, subscribe to our YouTube channel, McGuire ENTV. For audio, listen on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or Stitcher. Until next time, stay anchored.